Welcome back in. Mental health is a subject many people struggle to talk about. We've got someone on the show today who knows how to do just that and is tackling the tough subject with the help of a little humor. Here to tell us about his show is comedian Aaron Foster. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, we are so excited to hear your story, mental health, something that is so hard for people to talk about. And you've actually talked about it and now turned it into a comedy show. Tell us what's going on.
What is going on? That's a good question. My therapist asks me that every week. You know, this started out with me writing about my own issues with mental health, my family's issues with mental health, or lack thereof, and just as a way for me to kind of get the stuff out. And then I slowly started doing pieces of it on stage and getting reactions. People talk to me after the show that like, hey, thanks for talking about that and things like that. And so that kind of has inspired me over the last year and a half to keep writing and doing that kind of material.
Awesome. I feel like if people can't relate to having mental health things of their own, they definitely can relate to their family. Like everyone has the crazy family member, the kooky family member. So how do you include them?
I mean, that's the thing. Like in my family, like I have one normal uncle.
Okay.
Right? Like we go the other way in my family. So it is tough to talk about. Obviously, it's come a long way in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
But I think it still has a long way to go where it's still somewhat of a stigma about it. So yeah, I try to make it funny, and but I also try to be very honest about it. There's parts of my show that get a little bit dark. It's probably not for everybody, but the people that it's for really seem to connect with it, so it's nice.
Awesome. So you weren't always a comedian or actor. Tell us your story.
Oh, my story. I don't think we have enough time for my whole story, but I have done a lot of things. I think anything to avoid getting a real job. I've been an entrepreneur since I was about 25. Wholesale home furnishings. I made a living as an artist for about 20 years, making work out of old license plates. Started a sports nutrition business in Boulder, Colorado about 10 years ago, and I've opened a couple restaurants, and so now I've fallen back into the comedy and the acting thing, yeah.
Very cool. Well, it sounds like a good journey, at least an interesting one, for sure. So now you're kind of on a quasi-tour, right?
Yeah.
You told me it's not really a tour. People aren't asking for it. You're just doing it.
I mean, it depends how you define tour.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done shows in the last month or so in Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, California, but it's just me renting theaters and, putting the word out as best as I can and hoping people show up, and most of the time they do.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about what that reaction has been like from people.
It's been good. I try to be really upfront about what it is. It's called Mostly Jokes, hopefully clearly implying that it's not entirely jokes, but it's, the show is an hour and 20 minutes, and there's maybe 3 1 to 2 minute sections that are sort of a little bit more serious, but it's not a theatrical performance. I come from stand-up, that's how I write, that's how I work out my material, 5, 8, 10 minutes at a time in clubs in LA and stuff like that. So it's all born out of that. It is essentially a stand-up show that just has a little bit of a through line and an arc to it, yeah.
Yeah, so how do you choose what to put in a show like this?
I try to focus on the things that people laugh at the most. It seems to be the most important for that kind of show. But I have a group of comedians in LA that I write with and have written with for the last couple of years, and so there's a lot of it's a nice place to test material out and find out if it has any sort of legs to it before you try it out in a room of drunk people on a Wednesday night who maybe are not in the mood for material about depression, anxiety, and things like that.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit, because I actually think this is a really good way to talk about those topics, because they can be tough and people don't know how to even bring them up or go about it. So how do you know, how far is too far and what to chat about with people?
I like that you think that I know how far is too far. There are a few points in my show where I kind of mentally say, all right, well, let's do this part now and see what happens.
Yeah.
But I've done it enough that I know how people react, and sometimes it's like, all right, well, we'll get them back here on the next one because this one's a little rough. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
It's just a trial and error and how the audience is feeling that night. I have jokes that get out loud, clapping and hooting and hollering, and sometimes the next night that same joke might get nothing.
Wow.
So it's always an adventure to try to figure that out.
Yeah, you're just gauging it as you go, kind of. So tell me how have you experienced, does comedy help you get through tough things, do you think?
It does, very much so. I mean, performing certainly does. I'm very comfortable, for whatever reason, more comfortable doing that than I am just about anything else. And I've done some acting, and I used to host a HGTV show many years ago. Something about between action and cut and on stage and off stage, I'm more comfortable with. I think because I'm a little bit in control when those things are happening, or real or perceived. I don't know. Whereas this right now, this is an improv conversation, so I'm very uncomfortable.
Oh, no, you don't seem uncomfortable.
Well, yes, that's a lot of practice.
Yeah. Tell us about the future for you and where people can come see the show.
Sure, the show is in Santa Rosa. It's at a great venue called The Lost Church, and that's Wednesday night at about 8 o'clock, I think, something like that. You can go to mostlyjokes.com and get all the information for that. And you can see a trailer, get an idea for what I do. And the future, just hopefully more shows, and I'd like to tape it as a special at some point next year when I get a few more reps under my belt, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, Aaron, thank you so much. This sounds so interesting. And again, it's on Wednesday night. And where can people go for tickets if they like to come?
You can go to mostlyjokes.com.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much.